Cause what the F? Like ick, like so icky. That was an ick. I think you're a sociopath. You're full of shit. I don't know. Men are insane. You know what I mean? Hey guys, good morning. I feel like it's been a while since I got to chat with you guys, and we have a lot to catch up on. There have been many things going down in my life lately, and I think where I left you guys, I was getting ready for a first date, my first date of the year, my first date in like a year actually. I took a break off dating in 2023 just because I wasn't really making time for it. I was doing other things. I got this new sunscreen from Ulta. It's called Self Reflect by the brand Kinship. I was using the Coco Kind daily moisturizing sunscreen, and honestly I think it was making my makeup crack. Like if you guys watched my last video, I had like a full meltdown before the date because my makeup started to crack, holler, and I literally was like, I don't know what to do. And I really think it was the sunscreen because I just like, it doesn't work well under makeup. Anyways, let's get into the real tea. Let's get into why you're really here. Let's talk about date updates because I like don't even know where to start with this. So, I went on this date a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna say it's exactly 3 weeks ago now. So, I met this guy like in the wild and ended up being ballsy enough to be like, yo, like what's your number? Like let's hang out, whatever. Anyways, we went on a date, and the place that we went on a date was great. Amazing spot. It was like a little winery place, and the only person in there was the owner actually, and like another couple. So take a breath. I walk in and he's there already, and you know, it's a good vibe right off the bat. I feel like it's a great vibe right off the bat. He stands up, we give each other a hug. Like we don't know each other at all. I need y'all to know that. Like we follow each other on Instagram for a couple of weeks, but like I don't know anything about him, genuinely. And he knows nothing about me. So the date is going well. Like, yeah, I feel like we have good banter. Like the conversation is flowing. We're just being natural. 20-ish minutes into the date, he tells me that he moved here with a girlfriend that he broke up with back in September. Now we're in January, so I feel like that's still, you know, it's a decent amount of time. But anyways, so he's telling me about that. And normally on first dates, I don't like to ask about ex-girlfriends. Like I don't really talk about ex-girlfriends at all on first dates because honestly, like I don't care, especially on a first date, I don't care. And I don't want to know, I don't want to talk about other girls on the date, okay? Just isn't fun for me. So anyways, why am I so like actually out of breath like as I'm talking to you guys? Am I good? What's going on, mate? And he's explaining to me again like how he moved here with the girl and things ended, and he was like really torn up about it back in September. And he was like, honestly, like, you know, I mean, it's pretty serious if you move states with someone, right? And he was saying like, you know, I don't want you to like worry about this. There's nothing there. I went to therapy for 2.5 months. Like really just wanted to work on myself after she decided like she didn't want to work on us and kind of go from there. And that's where he was at, right? Like he's like reassuring me that I shouldn't worry. I shouldn't be like, hey, what's up? Like you still have feelings for your ex, whatever. He's like telling me like that's not a thing, and that he went to therapy. And I was like, okay, these are like green flags. I feel like, you know, he went to therapy, took care of himself. Good, good, good. And he was like, you know, when I first broke up with his ex, his friends like put him on Hinge, they put him on dating apps, like they were trying to get him back out there. And he was like, I hated it. I was just like not ready. Like it was not my thing. He was not ready to like get back into a relationship. And that's where he was at. Now, this is in September. He's explaining to me that that's in September, right? Well, so I asked him, I'm like, so is that, you know, still where you're at? Or like, what are you thinking? Like, you know, relationship, like, what do you feel like? Where are you at? And he was like, oh yeah, for sure. I'm definitely still in that place where I'm like not looking for something. Okay. And I was like, oh, okay. So what are we doing here? I was like, why are we on a date? You know what I mean? And automatically in my head, I'm like, okay, this guy isn't, yeah. I can confirm this guy is not looking for a relationship, which means he's only looking for a good time. In my brain, like that's automatically what I'm thinking. And so I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm not even gonna try to be like cute and funny and whatever. I just met this guy, but I also know that I am looking for a relationship, and I am in that headspace of like, I wanna work towards something, and it doesn't have to be, you know, like love of my life or like, but it does need to be, I do need to know that like that's where, you know, we're headed. So like I was like, that's where I was with this guy, you know? So he also, I think some things to like look for on a first date, people are always like, oh, I mean, I think people talk about this a lot, like, how do I know if he's into me or not? Or like if he wants more than just a one night good time or whatever. I think it's pretty obvious when someone wants that. And I think in this guy's case, it was extremely obvious. Like he was a little bit disrespectful in certain ways of like, he used certain like words and language that like, you wouldn't say on a first date if you were like trying to impress somebody. And like, again, in the moment, I was able to recognize this. And I wanna say, like, I really feel like I've grown a lot in my dating scape world, because in the past, if someone had told me like, oh, I'm not looking for anything serious, like right off the bat, and like, I'm not looking for a relationship, whatever, I honestly, or if they were asking me what I was looking for, I'd be like, oh, it's like whatever you want. Like, I'd be like, oh yeah, no, for sure, me neither. Like, we can just hang out. And then like, you know, behind closed doors, I would hope and pray that they would fall in love with me. And I'd be like, well, eventually they'll fall for me. And like, that's like, boys never want to be in a relationship until they fall for you. You know what I mean? And like, because honey, that's just not the case. Like, if I've learned one thing about being in relationships, is that when a guy tells you something, believe him. Believe him. Do not make up these scenarios in your brain where you're like, I know, but like maybe he was like, he really wants this and like he's being shy. No, that is not your job to psychoanalyze every little thing he says. In fact, it's just gonna hurt you in the long run if you do that. So long story short, this guy, so he's telling me like the weirdest shit, y'all. Like he's telling me like, oh, I don't have a type when it comes to women, but I have like this one thing that like I, you know, always look at when I look at women. Like all my exes have this one thing in common. It's eyebrows. Like he likes a good thick eyebrow, like Dua Lipa eyebrows. And I was like, okay. And he was like, some girls think it's really hot that like I'm into eyebrows. And I was like, okay. I was just like, I don't know, you want to say that? Okay, and so get this one, y'all. Oh, this is good. Okay, so this man dead ass looks me in the eye and he's telling me about like an ick he has when it comes to women. And I stopped him right there and I said, first of all, I don't believe men can have icks, honestly, because you know, like when a guy says an ick, it's just like that's not what an ick is. Like they don't fully understand it. They don't get it. And honestly, men are so much meaner than women. My personal ick is when I see guys laying in like the fetal position. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just kind of gives me the ick and I blame Harry Potter Goblet of Fire for that. But anyways, so these are like lighthearted behavioral things that men can control. And he was like, well, let me tell you what it is first. And I was like, yeah, I'll tell you if it's an ick. Like, you tell me what it is and I'll tell you. Because this is my ick. When girls smile and like it's 80% gums. Okay, I immediately was like, yes, that's not an ick. That's something she's born with that maybe she could be seriously insecure about. I was like, no, that doesn't really qualify as an ick. It qualifies you as an asshole, actually. You're just rude. Also, guys can have that. Anybody can have that. And it's just like so critical and like so judgmental. And I feel like, again, like that's not something I'm looking for in a partner. And we obviously established early on this date that this was not gonna be that situation. But anyways, so he says that, and he's talking about the eyebrow thing, and he's talking about like, he talked about like so many sexual things, which again, like talking about sexual things on a first date is like big red flag. Like I on it, like it, especially if it's done in like a disrespectful way, which I did feel kind of like uncomfortable. I was just like, I don't know you like that. Why are we talking about your what you're into and your kinks and your like turn-ons and stuff like that? I'm like, I don't want to know about that. You know, I don't care to know about that. So then he starts talking about his red flags, right? And he's like, yeah, I definitely have some red flags. Okay. And I was like, okay, so what do you think your red flags are? Because I can name a few right now. Okay. And he was like, okay, relax, like chill. And I was like, okay, go on, get this done. What are your red flags? And so this man looks at me and he says, I am just really into toxic women. The way I laughed in his face, and I was like, I literally went like this, y'all. I went into my shoulder because I was like, you did not just say that. You did not just say that. I looked at him and you know what I said? I said, you are 29 years old. And he was like, okay, like chill. And I was like, no, you are 29 years old. You should really think about that. And he was like, yeah, my mom gets on to me all the time about it. She's like, you need to pick better women. I said, yo, I'm glad someone does. I'm glad someone in your life does that for you. Because what the F? Like, it was just giving so immature. It was giving just like ick, like so icky. That was an ick. That right there was like, I'm into toxic women. Like, boy, if you don't. And so, unfortunately, he was physically very much my type. And that sucks for me. And like, it sucks that we're not like, you know, it didn't continue on, but honestly, like, such a good thing that it didn't, right? So at the end of the night, he like walks in my car. Oh, wait, I didn't even tell you the best part. So we got a bottle of wine, right? And we didn't finish the bottle of wine. And he tells me, the place was closing, and he tells me, he's like, oh, you know what? Like, we could go finish this bottle of wine at my place. I live upstairs in the building. And I was like, oh, you live in this building. That's why you chose this place. And yeah, like this was never ever for you gonna be anything more than that. So I was like, oh, that's convenient for you. That's so convenient for you. I'm gonna go home. So we go out to he like walks me in my car, and again, like I had a great time reading his ass to filth on this date. So I was just like, this was fun. The grown side of me was like, you can't pursue anything with this person because he obviously is not in the same place of like looking for a serious relationship or looking for like I'm not even like, I'm looking for a serious relationship. I'm looking for a connection and like respect and like seeing where that goes. And clearly this individual is not. So we get to the car, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I did kiss him. But in my brain, this was like a little like good night, goodbye kiss. Because again, like I said, I knew I could not pursue something or even entertain anything with this guy because I would just get hurt in the long run. That was how that one ended, right? And as we go about life and our day, whatever, he was like, text me when you get home so I know you're safe. And I was like, don't act like you care about me. Don't act like you give a shit about me, okay? And I was like, yeah, whatever. So I get home and I'm sad. Like definitely I was sad after the date because I think I, you know, definitely got excited for it and was like pumped for it, got all ready, had a good time. And of course you want it to work out when that happens, and it doesn't always work out, and that's okay. But anyways, so I was sad. I like talked to my sister about it, and I texted him back and I was like, I'm home. I think that's literally all I said, I'm home. And he responded and he was like, that was a really fun date. And I was like, yeah, no shit, I'm a fun person. I was like, I'm a lot of fun. I wasn't gonna pursue anything with this guy. I knew better, right? So we still followed each other on Instagram and all of that. He was liking my Instagram stories, and again, knowing my brain, there was a part of me that was like, maybe he'll come around and he'll want a relationship and he'll realize what he missed out on, whatever. Y'all, this man, 3 weeks after our date, he's in a relationship. He is full on dating someone, posting on Valentine's Day, mi amor, and shit like that. And I'm like, what? Hey, what? And it's not even like, part of me is like, like, I'm not hurt by this. I'm not offended by this. I think I'm really proud of myself for, again, like, not believing, not like leading into the BS of like the past of like, oh, well, he'll come around. It's like, no, because he'll come around for someone that's not you. Fully in a relationship, story after story of his new girlfriend. And I unfollowed him on Instagram right after that. And again, it wasn't even like a petty, like, oh, whatever, like, F you, like, you got the best of me, and like that. No, it was just a simply, I don't care to see that. And also, I think you're a sociopath. You're full of shit, okay? And again, I don't feel like he owed me anything, and I definitely don't feel like there was ever gonna be anything between us, but like, it's just like hilarious. And you guys can never let your guard down because men are batshit crazy. They are batshit. Like, to go from like, oh, I don't want to be in a relationship, which tells me you were probably talking to this person. Mind you, I'm gonna point out too, his girlfriend doesn't even live in this state, okay? He was visiting another state. It's not his ex. I don't know. I'm not gonna, you know, look into it. I don't know how long they've been talking. I don't know. It's none of my business, but don't ever let your guard down and trust your gut. Like, at the end of the day, believe what men have to say. And that's what I told him on the date too. Like, after the whole red flag thing, like, he told me that whole story. I said this to his face, you guys. I said this to his face. I said, I've learned a thing or two when it comes to dating. And honestly, the biggest lesson I've learned is that when a guy tells you he's a piece of shit, you should listen to him. And he was like, whoa, like, I'm not saying I'm a piece of shit. And I was like, well, you're saying something pretty close. Loving toxic women and all that. And what happened? I feel bad for the girl. I don't know. Men are insane. You know what I mean? All that to say, that's the update for you guys. That is the first date update. There will be no more dates with that man. That is gone. But I may or may not have just started hanging out with someone new. Okay. And it's a good vibe. Like, I feel good about it, and I like have a lot of fun with this guy, and I hope there's more to report, better news to report than that first date in the upcoming months. But yeah, it's fun. So ladies, again, girls, gays, theys, whoever is listening to this, just remember that men are literally nuts. They're nuts. And that has nothing to do with you and who you are and what you can offer, okay? So at the end of the day, decide what you want to do. It's genuinely, I think the biggest thing is you got to get with yourself, figure out what you want, and then pursue that with that person. If that person's willing to give you what you want, great. If they're not, on to the next. That's simple. And be done with that for the day. All right, guys, I did not film an outro for this video, but I want to just hop on and say thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you subscribe and stick around for some more bootleg bachelorette content, and I will see you all really soon. Love you guys.